We are getting close, people. 49ers rookies report to training camp on July 15th, followed by the veterans on July 22nd. And for that first week for the rookies, it's basically a lot of conditioning, weight room, cardio stuff, just so that when they step on the field, when the veterans report, they can, in essence, hit the ground running. And the 49ers first practice is July 23rd. Wanted to bring you up to date on just kind of what I know or kind of re-emphasize what I've said about Brandon Aiyuk. Now, Thursday, I was on KNBR in the morning. I was up in Tahoe for the golf tournament. They asked me about Brandon Aiyuk and what his situation is, any timeline, anything like that. And this is what I said. I said, even though the timeline, everything being equal, might point toward, hey, there's a chance week one, and there still might be a chance week one. I think the feeling inside the organization has always been don't take any chances. Start him off on PUP when they report to training camp on July 22nd, and then more than likely just have that carry over into the regular season. So that's what I said, and that's what I looked around and saw that that had gotten some steam picked up by Pro Football Talk and some other organizations, some other media outlets that aggregate and cover the 49ers. And yeah, I stand by that totally. Let me just tell you where I believe Brandon Aiyuk is, and I'll rewind back a little while, about a month, I guess, to the last time I talked to John Lynch. I asked him about Brandon Aiyuk and kind of what the plan is there and what the thought process is with him. And what John Lynch told me was, I want to commend Brandon for the way he's attacking his rehab. He had a severe knee injury and he's attacking it really well. And he's such a gifted athlete. He was blessed by the good Lord, and so he's recovering remarkably. I won't put a timeline on that, but Brandon's been great. What I also said on KBR, and again, I stand by it, is that he is ahead of schedule. And, not all ACLs are created equal. And with Ayuk, his ACL was very severe in the sense that it was on October 20th against the Kansas City Chiefs where he sustained that injury, tears to the ACL and the MCL. So the anterior cruciate ligament, the medial collateral ligament of his right knee. There was also, as I understand, some cartilage damage in there as well. So the injury happened on October 20. He didn't have the surgery until the second week in November. So right from the beginning, that pushes it back as far as the recovery and being able to get out there. So when you look at it from that sense, he's 8 months out from having the surgery on his right knee. Now, because of the complications, it wasn't just a clean ACL. There was other stuff involved. Everything that I've understood is that the 49ers just want to be cautious with him. And we did see him out during the offseason program doing some very light running, and you could tell he was eager to get back out there. But I don't think there's any question when training camp opens on July 22nd, you can expect he will be placed on the physically unable to perform list. But that also means that at any point, he can be cleared and can be removed from the physically unable to perform list before the start of the regular season. Now, if he remains on the physically unable to perform list at the start of the regular season, that makes him ineligible to play for the first 4 games of the season. So let's look at those 4 games. It's at Seattle, at New Orleans, against Arizona at Levi Stadium, Jacksonville at Levi Stadium, and then a week 5 game. That's a Thursday night, October 2nd at the Rams. Again, this is all speculative. I'm not reporting anything. I'm just giving you my opinion based on what I believe I know and then projecting as long as the rehab continues on the pace that it appears to be. My best guess would be that the first time we might see Brandon Aiyuk on the field would be week 6, Sunday, October 12th against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, all of that is totally speculative. I'm not reporting anything, but I'm just saying that if I were to make a guess, which I guess I just did, that would be my guess that Brandon Aiyuk could make his season debut October 12th against Tampa Bay. So, with Aiyuk, also with Malik Mustafa, I think the 49ers are going to be really careful with him. And I did say that, all things being equal, if you look at where Brandon Aiyuk is right now and project out his rehab, his physical therapy, I do think that from what I understand, there is a chance he could be ready week one. But I think the 49ers would be very, very reluctant to put him out there week one, just based on the severity of the injury. You just don't want to take any chances with him, especially, I mean, again, this is a team that has high expectations for this season. They want to be playing football, meaningful football, obviously, into December, and then advance that out to January and maybe even February as well. So I just don't think they're going to take any chances with him. Also, when you consider that the big contract that he signed not even a year ago, um, he signed through the 2028 season. This year, he's obviously guaranteed to be on the team this year. Next year, he does have an option bonus, significant guarantees. If they pick that option bonus up. But as far as his salary cap number, it really makes a big jump in 2027. That number jumps from 15 million on the salary cap to 41 million. So the 49ers do think that there is a chance that if Brandon Aiyuk continues to play or picks up where he left off in 2023, that by the time that you get to the back end of his contract, with the rising costs for wide receivers around the NFL, that contract could look, maybe a bargain is a bit of an overstatement, but it could really match up to being something that they're comfortable with. So how he plays upon his return is all very much part of it. And just the progress. The other thing to keep in mind is, last year the 49ers were able to pick up with Juwan Jennings. He became the number one receiver. Juwan Jennings enters the final year of his contract. And in speaking to agents around the NFL who represent wide receivers, not Juwan Jennings' agent, so more of an objective opinion on this. I mean, Juwan Jennings is looking potentially at a contract that pays him $15 million a year next season. So when you look at the start of the regular season, I still think, even though it's a possibility, I don't think that Brandon Aiyuk will be out there week one. And so it's Jennings, it's Ricky Pearsall, but also George Kittle. Caught it with George Kittle at the American Century Championship, the golf tournament, celebrity golf tournament in Tahoe. Check that out on the 49ers Talk podcast. Spent about 7 minutes with him talking about celebrity and also, you know, his off season, which has been, if you follow him on social media, he's had a really fun off season. But he said there's also been a lot of work involved as far as his new Nashville neighbor, Brock Purdy, lives about 15 minutes from George. They met up 3 times a week, running passes, just working on that chemistry. And so that's something where George Kittle says that he was a little bit anxious about leaving the workout program that he's developed for himself in Nashville, where he has, kind of a mock football field. He has a barn that's his locker room. He was a little bit anxious about leaving 12 days before the start of training camp to take part in that golf tournament, but a lot of cardio work. That's what he said. That's how he gets ready for the start of football season. But he said he's excited to go. Like some of the rookies, singled out Jordan Watkins, the wide receiver from Ole Miss, the 49ers draft pick, as a guy who can really, kind of open his eyes and has a chance to be a really good player. But the reason I mentioned Kittle is because without Brandon Aiyuk and until Brandon Aiyuk returns to form, George Kittle is a huge part of the 49ers offense. He already is, of course, but coming off an 1,100-yard season, 8 touchdowns, when you look at where the pass distribution can be figured to go, be spread out along the 49ers offense, two guys that have huge roles are not wide receivers as far as even the pass catching. I'm talking about George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey. But Juwan Jennings needs to build on what he did last year. Ricky Pearsall needs to stay healthy. And then who's going to emerge as that number three? I talked about Demarcus Robinson on my last video with Todd Beckett, the criminal defense attorney. So, there could be a suspension coming from Demarcus Robinson, but that's a guy who started 17 games for the Rams last season. So those are my thoughts on Brandon Aiyuk. And I did earlier mention Malik Mustafa, and it's a similar situation with his ACL injury. Again, right knee. It's not so much that there's more complications. With Ayuk, it's ACL, MCL, cartilage. With Mustafa, where it becomes a little bit tricky with him is that he had the torn ACL at the end of the 2021 season in college at Wake Forest in the bowl game. That bowl game took place on New Year's Eve 2021. So he didn't have his surgery until early in 2022. After the off season of rehabbing and physical therapy, he did, as I understand, miss 3 games the next season, but returned to action and played, I think it was 10 games that following year. So there probably has been some thought among the 49ers that he probably didn't have enough time to let that thing fully heal before they put him back out there at Wake Forest. So with Mustafa entering his second NFL season, and all rookies, of course, signed 4-year contracts who were drafted. All draft picks signed 4-year contracts. So Mustafa was a rookie in 2024. This year's his second year. So 2026 and 2027, 49ers need him for that time. So in the same sense of Brandon Aiyuk, 49ers don't want to take any chances, don't want to push him out there. They might even take it to the point where he's ready to go now, feel confident in it, but maybe pump the brakes and give him a couple more weeks. So, like Brandon Aiyuk, fully expect Malik Mustafa. He will open on the PUP list on July 22nd when he reports, along with the other veterans. And then, more than likely, all signs would be pointing toward him also starting the season on the PUP list, making him ineligible for the first 4 games of the season. So that would be my thought, that Ayuk and Mustafa open the regular season on PUP, making them ineligible for those games against Seattle, New Orleans, Arizona, and Jacksonville. And then the first time that they'd be potentially eligible to play would be at the Rams. But because that's a short week, a Thursday night football game, which means very little practice time before being able to play in that game, I would think that any player who opens the season on an injury list that knocks them out for the first 4 games of the season more than likely would not play week 5 either at the Rams. And so that would make that week 6 game, Sunday, October 12th against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the first time where you might see some of those injured guys coming out. And when I say some of those injured guys, there's always the possibility that in training camp, something happens and a player is placed on an injury list to open the season. But Ayuk and Mustafa are the 2 guys that we know will be entering training camp with an injury that could carry all the way through training camp, or at least shutting them down, pumping the brakes. The other one is Curtis Rourke, the quarterback, a 7th-round draft pick from Indiana. Also, very similar situation to Mustafa, except for with Rourke, and that's a re-injury of an old ACL injury. With Rourke, he played the entire season last year with the ACL, so he underwent his surgery in January, more than likely a redshirt year for Curtis Rourke. So that's kind of the update, or my thoughts on Brandon Aiyuk. Again, I know I got some attention for how I framed it and what I said on KNBR this past week. But that's everything I've heard that I know, and just kind of reading the tea leaves of where I think the 49ers would be leaning, and also taking into account what John Lynch said. And one of the things that he did say, I just kind of wanted to expound on it, when he told me that, he's such a gifted athlete. John Lynch has said this time and time again. That amazing thing about great athletes is that they just heal different than normal people. And so that's kind of the framework that he used in describing where Brandon Aiyuk is in his rehab, and that yes, he is ahead of schedule, but the 49ers want to be very cognizant of not doing anything now that will impact him later on because he's still a young guy, still should have a lot of really good football ahead of him. So anyway, thanks for watching this video, and that is it for now.